There's a rare kind of man. And no, he's not rich, reckless, or ridiculously charming. He's not the nice guy who opens doors, nor the arrogant one with a fast car and a fast mouth. He's different, and if you're about to scroll past, stop, because what I'm about to tell you isn't in dating books. It's not on your favorite podcast. And trust me, your buddies aren't whispering this in your ear, but the men who get it. They live in her mind rent-free, the ones she imagines when no one's watching. This secret, most guys will never stumble across it, not because they're dumb, but because they're too busy chasing the wrong things. You don't need six-pack abs or $1 million smile. You just need one shift, one truth. And if you stay, you'll feel it land in your chest. Now, let me warn you. This video isn't for everyone. Most will click away. Most always do. But if you're the kind of man who knows there's more than swipes, games, or surface-level charm, then this might just wake something up in you. If you're ready, drop a comment below. Say, "I'm in." Let the world know you're not here to play small. You're here to rise. Now, let's begin. Sign 1. The man who doesn't flinch. She's met charming men, wealthy men, men who compliment her every move, and yet the one she can't forget is the one who didn't flinch. Not when she tested him, not when she ignored him, not even when she tried to pull him in, then push him away. He stayed grounded, unbothered. Still, that's the man she keeps replaying in her head. He doesn't chase her approval. He doesn't mold himself to fit her mood. He doesn't apologize for existing. You see, most men lean in too quickly. They soften their voice, smile too much, try to guess what she wants to hear. They become performers, hoping for a reward, but she doesn't want a show. She wants truth, stillness, a man who knows who he is and doesn't ask her to confirm it. That's power, and it's quiet. Let me paint a picture. You're at a cafe. She walks in, graceful, radiant. Every eye follows her. She sits nearby. Your heart might skip, but your body doesn't. You stay present. No performance, no panic. She notices, because she's used to the opposite. Men who orbit her like planets around the sun. But you're gravity. You're not impressed by beauty. You admire character. That alone makes you unforgettable. One of my friends, Mark, once told me this. He met a woman at a seminar. Stunning. She approached him first. Instead of jumping on the opportunity, he asked her a simple question. What brings you here? For real. Not flirtation. Just presence. Curiosity without need. That question cracked her open. They talked for hours. Weeks later, she told him, "You were the only man in that room who didn't try to sell himself." That's it. That's the man who doesn't flinch. He doesn't react. He responds. He doesn't chase, but he doesn't run either. He stands, and in that silence, she starts to feel loud. That's when the shift happens. She leans in. She rereads his texts. She starts wondering, why can't I stop thinking about him? Sign 2. The mirror. Have you ever met someone who looks at you, not like they're judging, not like they're analyzing, but simply seeing you? That's the mirror. He's the kind of man who doesn't perform. He doesn't brag. He doesn't try to earn points with clever stories or polished charm. Instead, he reflects. Most men perform for women. They talk about their careers, their muscles, their latest wins. It's like they're pitching themselves, hoping she'll approve. But the mirror doesn't pitch. He listens. Truly listens. He doesn't interrupt her dreams with his ambitions. He doesn't fix her pain with advice she didn't ask for. He doesn't need to dominate the conversation. He just creates space. And in that space, she breathes. She opens. She softens. Because for once, she doesn't feel like she's being sold something. She feels safe, understood, seen. Let me give you an example. A woman told me this. She was at a networking event. Long day, heels hurting, talking about a project that had her up for 17 hours straight. Most guys would have cut in. Oh yeah? I run 3 companies. Barely sleep. Not him. He just said, "That sounds brutal. Is it really worth it to you?" No performance. Just presence. No judgment. Just curiosity. She told me later, that single question made her think about things she'd been avoiding for years. It made her feel like he actually heard her soul, not just her words. That's the power of the mirror. He's not trying to win. He's not trying to impress. He's not trying to solve. He simply reflects. And that reflection, honest, quiet, steady, is magnetic. Because here's the truth. In a world where women are constantly being pitched, sold to, sized up, or seduced, the man who doesn't try to take from her becomes the one she leans into. Suddenly, she's texting him first. She's replaying their conversation. She's wondering what it is about him. It's not that he said the right thing. It's that he made her feel the rarest thing. Safe. Sign 3. The storm in his calm. There's a kind of man who enters a room and you barely notice him at first. He's not loud. He's not flashy. He doesn't demand attention. But somehow, she can't stop watching him. Why? Because there's something brewing beneath the surface. A storm contained. An intensity controlled. He's calm, but never soft. Still, but never empty. His eyes hold a little more tension. His words carry a little more weight. His silence speaks louder than most men's speeches. She doesn't know what it is, but she feels it. He doesn't over-explain, doesn't chase, doesn't crumble under pressure. And that unsettles her, because most men either beg or break. But he stands. He doesn't resist her emotions. He lets her feel them fully. And while she spirals, he stays still, not out of indifference, but from presence. One man, few words, unshaken. That's rare, and rare is irresistible. I knew someone like that. He wasn't rich, wasn't tall, wasn't even particularly handsome. But when he spoke, every man paused, and every woman listened. He never interrupted. He never shouted. He never proved anything. But when things got chaotic, he was the eye of the storm. And women, they noticed. There's a quote by Marcus Aurelius: "Nowhere can a man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." And another by Lao Tzu that fits even deeper: "He who conquers others is strong. He who conquers himself is mighty." This man lives by that. He's done the inner work. He's conquered himself. So when she steps into his world, it feels like silence, but powerful. And in that silence, her mind gets loud. Her heart races. She can't name it. She can't explain it, but she remembers it. And that is why she keeps coming back. Sign 4. The man who walks away. There's a strange kind of power in a man who isn't afraid to leave, not in anger, not to manipulate, but simply because. He knows what peace costs and what it's worth. He doesn't need to win an argument. He doesn't need to prove his value. And he certainly doesn't stay where he's not respected. He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't throw insults. He just stands up, nods, and walks away. That silence, it echoes louder than any speech, and it drives her mad. Not because he was cruel, but because he didn't try to be needed. He didn't ask for approval. He didn't beg for another chance. He didn't hesitate. That's rare. And rare is unforgettable. You see, most men chase when they're disrespected. They explain. They plead. They try to fix things that were broken from the start. But this man, he knows the weight of self-respect, and he carries it like armor. There's a moment, maybe you've seen it before. A woman tests him. She pokes, she pushes, just to see if he'll stay. But he doesn't play. He just smiles and says, "This doesn't work for me." Then he disappears. Not with drama, but with clarity. And that stays with her. Because every other man would have clung harder, fought louder, lost dignity in the process. But he kept his silence. And in that silence, she heard everything. A friend of mine, David, once told me a story. He was seeing a girl who kept texting other men, but called them just friends. Instead of arguing, he said, You're free to do what you want, but I'm not the kind of man who waits while someone decides if I'm enough." She laughed, thought he was bluffing. He smiled, deleted her number. 2 weeks later, she reached out, apologizing, begging. But by then, he was already gone. That's what happens when a man values his energy more than attention. There's a quote by Robert Greene: "The ability to walk away without looking back is a power few possess, and all respect." And that kind of power, it doesn't shout, it doesn't chase, it doesn't flinch, it just walks, quiet, unapologetic, unmoved. And when she sees you're willing to walk, not to punish, but to protect your peace, she stops testing. She starts wondering. She starts remembering. Because you didn't ask to be respected, you became a man who couldn't be disrespected. Sign 5. The man with presence. There's something unusual about a man who says nothing, but somehow makes the whole room notice him. Not because of what he wears, not because of what he says, but because of how he feels. It's not fake confidence. It's not loud energy. It's stillness, rooted, grounded. He doesn't chase attention. He doesn't compete for approval. He simply enters a room and owns it. How? By being completely present. His eyes meet hers. He doesn't look away, but he doesn't stare. He doesn't need a pickup line. His presence is the line. He's not trying to impress. He's not trying to win. He's just there, aware, calm. And that's exactly what makes her nervous. Because women are surrounded by men, constantly trying to prove their worth. They talk too much. They move too fast. They reach too far. But this man, he's centered. And in that stillness, she feels seen, not targeted, not tested, just seen. One woman said it best. She was at a rooftop party, full of people. Every guy looked at her, smiled, postured, except one. He didn't even glance, until their eyes finally met. He held the gaze, not cocky, not creepy, just calm. Later, she approached him and said, "You looked like you didn't need anyone, but I wanted to be the one you noticed." That's the paradox. He doesn't seek her, but his energy invites her. He doesn't act like he needs her, but somehow he makes her feel like the only one in the room. When you possess peace within, you draw others into your stillness. Epictetus. That's the man with presence. He doesn't enter the room to take up space. He enters to own his space. And that subtle difference is everything. She leaves that room, still thinking about him, not because of what he said, but because of how he made her feel, without a single word. Sign 6. The man who turns his pain into power. There's a strength most men overlook. And yet, women sense it instantly. It's not bravado. It's not the tough guy who never cries. That's a performance. A shell. Real strength comes from the man who's been shattered and chose to rebuild. Not into a harder version of himself, but into a deeper one. He doesn't hide his scars. He wears them, not as weakness, but as proof he survived. You can feel it in his calm. It's not practiced, it's earned. He's walked through fire and brought back silence. And that silence speaks volumes. Carl Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." This man, he faced his unconscious. He didn't run from his pain. He sat with it, understood it, transformed it. And women, they feel it before he says a word, because he doesn't get triggered easily. He doesn't flinch at rejection. He doesn't play games. He listens. He observes. He responds, never reacts. One man I knew lost everything: his career, his marriage, his purpose. He could have drowned in it. But instead, he studied. He healed. He traveled alone. And when he came back, he didn't wear bitterness. He wore stillness. Women noticed. They told him, "You feel like someone who can hold me without needing to fix me." Because the man who holds himself can hold others too. His pain became power. His loss became leadership. He didn't bury the past. He built on top of it. So if you've been broken, don't pretend it didn't happen. Don't harden. Learn. Own it. Grow stronger because of it. Because the man who walks with emotional weight and radiates quiet wisdom doesn't just attract women. He awakens them. And that is the man 99% of women can't forget. Not because of what he says, but because of who he's become. You made it here, to the very end, and that alone puts you in a different category. Most men don't finish. They click away. They chase shortcuts. They look for tricks. But not you. You stayed. You listened. You saw beyond the surface. And that says something about the kind of man you're becoming. Because you're not here just to attract. You're here to understand, to elevate, to evolve, to master the energy inside you so deeply that women don't just notice you, they feel you. And not because of some magic line or game, but because your presence is no longer trying. It's simply there. So here's the real question. What will you do now? Now that you've unlocked the truth? The truth about what women really want. Not perfection, not performance, but power, earned from pain and depth, forged through discipline. Because this isn't about pretending, it's about embodying, not acting confident, but becoming unshakable. Start walking like you own your name, like your story matters. Because it does. Speak like each word carries weight, because it should. Move through the world like a man who doesn't need to chase, because the right people always notice a king when he enters. And kings don't run, they lead. If that's who you're becoming, or who you already are, you don't need to say much. Just live it, and the world will feel it. Now, before you go, if this message stirred something in you, hit that like button to show it. Subscribe to keep building the kind of strength that can't be faked. And drop a comment below. Which moment in your life shaped the man you're becoming today? Let's hear your truth. Because this channel isn't just content, it's a calling. And if you ever forget why you started, remember this: a man doesn't become powerful by avoiding the fire. He becomes powerful by walking through it and learning to breathe within the flames. A lion does not chase opinions. He stands, he watches, he remembers who he is. Be that lion. Until next time, stay grounded, stay dangerous, stay unshakable.